My friends, what is going on? I want to do a quick AMC kind of what I thought about the fourth quarter of 2022 results today. I just finished listening to the earnings call for the second time. I just kind of want to give my thoughts. We'll look at it a little bit from a technical standpoint, wrap this up as fast as possible. You guys know the deal. Nothing I'm giving you is financial advice. Everything is for informational and educational purposes only. I just want people to make great decisions for themselves, their family, and their portfolio. So I'm going to go through a couple of the tweets that I sent out earlier today. I said I would be tweeting out the good, bad, and the ugly. Once again, I'm not a cheerleader for AMC. I'm an investor, so I look at everything from all the angles. What's potentially really good, what's potentially really bad, and therefore what needs to be done to be better. So I tweeted out here was their immediate release of the earnings. There was lots of bad reporting going on as far as what the earnings actually looked like. And so feel free. I am a technical trader. I'm not a fundamental trader. So feel free if you want to go through and dive into all the fundamentals of AMC. Obviously, yes, I know it is a very, company with a ton of debt on it, and they're paying back rent deferrals from COVID, all that kind of stuff. But I do believe overall the future can potentially be bright, so long as they stay on track. They do have a lot of debt in a cash burning business, but I do feel like they're doing a good job, if you will. I mean, they got the house of cards going. They're juggling a lot of balls in the air, so to speak, as far as their debt goes, and I do believe that overall are they perfect? No. Do I expect anybody to be perfect? No, I'm not perfect. But I do think that overall they're doing about as good a job as they can. But overall, fourth quarter revenue was down over fourth quarter of 2021. Adam Aaron talked about how that was largely due to not a lot of releases in October and November, and then also to lack of Spider-Man. Now, yes, they did have Avatar in this fourth quarter, but the couple things that I did like, so like I said, on my Twitter page, please follow me there, Colin_Gladman, if you want to go, like I said, go diving through all the technicals. One thing that I did really like is Q1 this year is up 44% year over year. A big thing that they talked about is just needing more movies. How ever since COVID happened, how many movies are coming to theaters as far as what studios are able to produce has been bad. But 2019, I believe he said it was like 11.9 billion, and then dropped all the way to like 2 billion in 2020, and then it was like 4 billion in 2021, and then 7 billion in 2022. So they are looking at an increase in box office numbers, mainly because studios are actually able to pump out a lot more movies. I tweeted about earlier today, usually this would have been like a really good, 2-3 month span. But just in March alone, you got Creed 3, you've got the next Scream movie, you've got 65 million, which to me is kind of a dark horse. I'm really excited about that one. You've got the next Shazam movie, you've got John Wick, and you've got Dungeons and Dragons. So a decent release every single, weekend, if you will. And like, just going back to what I was just saying, the total numbers of movies released in 2022 was half to a third of 2019 before COVID, and that is changing this year. They are expecting a 75% increase of movies grossing over $100 million this year, and as the number one player in town. Another thing that I did like is I liked how he basically went through and talked about how strong they are doing versus their competition. So, like I said, they're doing a lot better than certainly the other players in the market. And if they can really, dominate the market even more than they already are, then that's good. Another thing that I really liked was that they're doing really good margin on food and beverage. The average patron is spending about $19.98 per patron in Q4. And like I said, that's good on those high margin items. 201 million people visited AMC in 2022, an increase of 56% over 2021. So once again, more foot traffic coming in, less and less people afraid to go to movie theaters, COVID, all that good stuff. I hate that we're really even still talking about it, but it's the reality of it. So, but it's looking good. Like I was saying, the Q4 is down because of October, November. And I also like that, Adam Aaron directly addressed the wild, crazy conspiracy theorists that go into this as far as him being a hedge plant or a Trojan horse. Now, I do disagree with him very strongly, where he was talking about how the reverse split is going to be a neutral thing. He used the example of if you've got 10 $1 bills in your pocket and you exchange that for a $10 bill, then you still have the exact same amount of money. And while that is true, if I have 10 shares of AMC, okay, so the 10 $1 bills, we'll just stick with that analogy. If I have 10 shares of AMC, I have a lot more options about how I want to manage my position and potentially exit my position versus if I only have a one share. So if I only have one share of AMC, I'm pretty much got to decide when I'm all in or when I'm all out. I can't scale in and out of the play. And also, too, when you do that, when you drastically increase your share price by 10x, now, like I talk about with my Discord all the time, is there's a lot more room from 60 to 0 than there is from 6 to 0. So if you're looking at people who potentially might try to pounce on AMC from a short selling standpoint, then there's a lot more profit for them shorting it down from 60 to 0 versus, like I said, from 6 to 0. Once we're already pretty close to the floor, that's a great time to accumulate. If we're not close to the floor, then you're going to have to be smart about your investments, and your overall investment can take a much bigger hit at that point in time. So it is not neutral. Okay. Now, the example he gave is a neutral example, but that is just not reality as far as I'm concerned when it comes to losing the amount of shares that myself and everybody else is going to be looking at losing. You are going to have less options available to you. Now, I mean, once again, if you're not I don't care, zero or till multi-generational life-changing money person, then yeah, I totally get that. For someone like me who likes to wheel my shares and manage it, there's a certain portion, what I teach in my Discord, where I call it what's called a moon bag, which is strictly just a buying and holding percentage of my shares. And then there's shares that I'm willing to wheel and trade and constantly get a return on my investment. And if it wasn't for being able to do that, like many people I talk to on a regular basis, I would have been very red on my AMC position. So if it wasn't for being able to sell calls and puts and collect premium the entire time, then I would have been in much worse shape. Obviously, they talked a lot about how the reverse split is coming one way or another. I tweeted out my opinion on the deal, basically saying I planned on voting yes. That still stands because, like I said, it's we either do it now or the price is going to take another massive beating, and then you're going to do it then. But a reverse split is in AMC's future. They do need the ability to raise money when they need to. My biggest problem with it is for me, Ape turned out to be an unmitigated disaster. I really dislike when Adam Aaron talks about how it is just like when he says market's going to market, up, down, good, bad, we don't control anything like that. And I do agree that he doesn't control anything like that. However, it would be nice if, in my opinion, he took a firmer stance on his opinion overall on the market. And it's it just kind of seems to be real selective when he does that. He also addressed the lawsuit that he felt like that was going to be something that is going to turn into nothing. Now, obviously, we don't know that, and I'm certainly not an attorney, so I'm not going to jump into that. But he kind of acted like it was a relatively no big deal, that it was going to be handled, taken care of, and that the vote is moving forward. So overall, there's some things that I like. There's some things that I didn't like. AMC's road to being a profitable cash flow business without a lot of debt. And speaking of the debt, I've been a real big naysayer about that. they're doing a much better job. I like the fact that, like for instance, the rent deferral at one point was like $540 million, and they've almost got that completely paid off. It's down to like only $100 million now. So they're they're working on it slowly but surely. And at this point, in my opinion, with AMC, it is more of, do you want to see this thing through to a profitable company, and naturally seeing your share prices rise because the company is being restored to its former glory. Any type of squeeze action for me personally would be secondary to that. I was never, when I first invested in AMC when it was reopening from COVID, it was never about a squeeze play to begin with. So that's never been my main goal. And of course, I would love it just as much as the next person would. Of course, of course, of course. That is not what I'm saying. Do not hear that as, oh, you don't want to squeeze. Of course, I would love nothing more than to squeeze to astronomical numbers. I would love nothing more than to apologize over and over and over again because it hit $1 million a share or $500,000 a share. Because it would be really wealthy off of that. I would be, so I'm totally okay with that. So that is going to be kind of my overview on Q4, the good, bad, and the ugly. He also talks about rolling out popcorn to the 2,600 Walmarts. Love that idea. Love the credit card idea. Really hope we get more information on that because especially with interest rates, things of that nature, that could be potentially a lot of money. I really like to hear that they're potentially adding a lot more revenue streams than just the theaters. I like them talking about letting horrible theaters go and really focusing on their diamonds and letting the pieces of trash be pieces of trash and close down. I really like that mentality as well. Upgrading seats, upgrading projectors, all that good stuff. Like I said, all that sounds good. I think the future of movies is bright. You constantly see more and more movies being made, going into production. My personal opinion is not in any time in the near future is the movie going experience going away, and I absolutely love going to the movies. All right, so now let's take a look at the chart. Just a couple technicals real quick. So the range that I've been talking about and looking at, so if we do a macro fib, which is going to go from the all-time low to the all-time high, we basically closed right at the 0.5 fib, slightly below it, and then everything did bleed pretty good in earnings. Now, we'll see what happens tomorrow. It could just be back testing this pennant right here, which is going to be right around that 666 level, which honestly I didn't even see where it closed at today. I was busy. 670. Okay. So it could just be back testing this breakout. Now, one thing that I do want to look at is if we do an inverse fib. So anytime you have fibs overlap each other, kind of gives you an area of confluence. So right here, this 236, right around 681 and that 0.5 of 724, we kind of want to stay on top of that. And you can see just how crucial, once again, this range in this area has been for AMC. We've got a decent high volume breakout. We want to see this range hold and then potentially make a continued push to the upside. We broke above briefly, closed right at the 200 moving average, which I've talked a lot about that as far as where we got halted multiple times. We broke above it and closed above it just barely yesterday, and then now closed well below that. So we definitely need to get back on top of that. From a trend line standpoint, if we go from the all-time high and then where we were rejected and back in September of 21 and then November of 21 and then where we got halted in March of 22 and then where we got halted for the release of AMC and Ape together, pretty much almost to the penny, got ticked off of that today, which was, let's see here, what was the high of the day? High of the day was right at 850. So from a trend line standpoint, we want to see this one broken. So if I got rid of this trend line that we broke out of here, So if we just hide that, if we were looking at this now from a support standpoint, we could definitely ping pong in here up until we get the reverse split vote going. So short term on AMC, definitely want to stay in the sevens, want to get up there to like that 725. We've had earnings before where it's just like gapped down and then shot up right after. So hopefully we get something like that tomorrow. If we do get a nice volume push up, we want that to be on high volume. The March chain, the March expiration, both the $7 calls and the $10 calls are very stacked. So we would definitely love to see those running in the money and going from there. So I want to cut it off there. That's kind of what I'm looking for more on the the big overall macro picture. So we want to stay above the 236, want to stay above the 0.5. Definitely want to get above this trend line right here. Okay, so like I said, we're above that pre-June run accumulation area, and we want to keep on pushing at this point in time. So please like and subscribe. Much love. Also to today, which if you watch this in the future, February 28th, today's the last day I'm accepting any new Discord signups. For at least a good while. I don't know what a good while means, but probably at least a couple of weeks to a month or so. So if you're interested in joining, get with me here in the next 24 hours. All right. Much love, and I will see you guys in Thursday's video, and we'll pick up where we left off. Have a good one, my friends.